Oh, I didn't drop the baby on the keyboard, but almost. Welcome to the show this evening. Thank you very much for making it. I'm Johnny from Johnny's Car Care and Reviews, and tonight I'm here to talk to you about huge automotive news. We've got the Bronco and Ranger with increased power, but a catch that you really need to know about to not get in quite a bit of trouble. We've got, well, big trouble at Chrysler, Dodge, Ram, Jeep, USA or USD. The USA automakers are actually in quite a bit of trouble. We've got issues here, and we might actually at the end of this end up with much better results. So even, yes, Ford's in trouble. They've made major changes to their plans, but it could actually, I actually think it's working out for the absolute best. We'll talk about where the plans completely failed and have been completely changed and what those new plans are. Outsider Reviews, thank you for letting me know that I am live now. I hope you can hear me well. I've got the new mic set up. I learned a lot doing some reviews with Pat from Outsider Reviews. So check out his channel. Please subscribe to his channel. He's a great, good friend and brother, and he'll take good care of you in keeping you informed about all your automotive reviews. He does great weekly reviews, gets access to some very, very cool vehicles like the Ford Bronco Raptor that I brought up my wild track and we did some off-roading together. So catch those videos. So tonight we're talking about some major changes to the USD market, the manufacturers, the USA manufacturers, and how China is probably going to be coming into our market through a bit of a back door. And that back door, that hole in the US market to keeping them out, is actually coming from none other than Chrysler, because they are in the most trouble. They're the brand that is absolutely by far in the most trouble. They need saving. So we're going to be talking about that. You can catch Outsider Reviews. Pat, he did a review on it about BYD possibly buying out Chrysler. But we're going to be talking about that indirectly through all the changes we are going to be covering. So let's get started. You know, we're going to be talking about 2025 Bronco Sport, 2025 Bronco, major recall. So Ford in trouble, a little bit of an issue, major recall on that 2.7 liter engine. So we're going to cover all that and a whole lot more here at Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. So Prost, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Get the glare off these glasses. Starting a little later, sorry folks, had a bit of technical problems. I think I may have actually accidentally started the live by accident. And yes, earlier I did have the baby in my arms. New father. New adjustments to be made. We'll also be covering what's been going on the channel, what has been keeping us very, very busy here. So we've got a lot of stuff to cover tonight. So let's get right started. We've got a nice little thumbnail. If you like it, let us know. But Rich, GT350R, thank you very much for joining us. We're still loving our GT350, not R. Just a red one though, but not R for racing, R for red. So we're going to be talking about at the beginning of the show, Ram, Chrysler, Jeep failing. So yes, they're failing. We've got major issues over at Dodge, Ram, and Chrysler. So let's get started. I'm going to be taking all sorts of notes, but before we officially get started into what is going to be turned into mini episodes where I try to be really direct with the information, and Peugeot, it would be great if he was getting a Koenigsegg next week, but I kind of doubt that. He deserves it, but I don't think he'll be getting it. So just give us really just before diving into the non-live where we interact, we haven't seen each other for a few weeks. Glad that I've got the crew here in and Peugeot Outsider Reviews, GT350R. Let's cover some of the what's been going on here. We'll do a little bit of what's been going on with the channel at the back, but I really want to highlight someone worth highlighting. We've got a Maverick owner here, and I can't say that all Maverick owners are like this, because this individual is very unique, a very honest and good individual. Finds a wallet with $5,784 in cash inside of it. No witnesses whatsoever. Could have taken the money, but what did he do? The Mount Prospect resident Bill Winquist's decision was to do the absolute right thing. Very impressive. He got the wallet and the money, all of the money back, not just the wallet, but all the money back to its original owner. So he played detective, found out where the person was, and this is reported by the Daily Herald. Very, very impressive. So the Prospect Heights City Council to honor him with a plaque, and here we want to honor him by saying, great job. Fantastic. If it was that kind of money in the comment section, though, inside the wallet, I would think it would have been all maybe like 5s, 10s, and 20s. So just want to highlight it. No matter what, he absolutely did the right thing. That's right, Rich GT350R. Marine Vet, thank you very much, and thank you for being in the show. Thank you for your service. Outsider Reviews, Pat, thank you very much for your service as well. Speaking of doing good actions, it's a huge sacrifice when you're in the military because you get taken away from your family. At times you get taken away from and removed from a bit of the sane part of your mind because you have to be ready to do things that just your brain does not want you to do. So some of the things we'll be covering, new Ford Maverick model. We'll talk about that tonight. Also, quickly, what's been going on the show? Well, I found this I didn't make this meme. I found it on Facebook and it made me laugh because it says, how to stay financially stable in life. Step 1, don't get into cars, the end. And what is it? 2 MR2s right there. And my MR2, blown engine, they put it on the dyno, supposed to get tested really, really well before, 31 hours of work. But after 31 hours of work, it blew on the dyno. So really, really painful there. We got the carnivore bar here. Population that is fat, sick, and unmotivated is easy to control. That is how they're trying to control you. So I don't know how that slide got into there. That's a screenshot, so that's a little off topic. But talking about control, this individual has, this is automotive news related because you want to be healthy, you want to fit into your vehicle, so eat meat and stay away from the sweets. But a Maryland resident owns the land. He's not a renter. He built himself a racetrack, and now the neighbors, the community doesn't want him using his racetrack. I think that's unfortunate when people try to tell us what to do with our own property or our own food or our own vehicles. I don't like the idea. I like electric vehicles. I don't like the idea of being forced electric vehicles, or kind of indirectly being forced because of overspending, being indirectly forced into different decisions like less vacation time with the family, or just staying at home and not driving anywhere because, the price of everything. And it's pretty wild because, well, I find this kind of represents it well. Americans receiving stimulus checks in 2020 and 2021, Americans, Canadians. This is like a worldwide, just coincidentally happened pretty much everywhere in the world. And then, the rest of the world in 2024, when the dollar or their form of currency gets devalued. It's odd. If you happen to produce 80% of all the currency ever printed in a country's history within 4 years, it's wild how then you can end up with all sorts of inflation. But what is even more wild is when the people that printed off all that money, created all that inflation, turn around and blame corporations and say that it's greedflation, and essentially their remedy, how they're going to fix it, is almost to kind of suggest much greater controls on corporations, more of a going into socialism. And anyways, just on a complete side note, historically, when you try to control prices, well, inventory goes way down when you put price controls in, and that actually causes prices to go up over time. So at first, yes, if you say, food, this item of food needs to absolutely be this much lower price, at first people are gonna be like, wow, this problem fixed. We're getting food at a lower price. But then there'll be less of that food with time on the shelves, or none. So it leads to inflation. So just a little side note there. We as a family, we couldn't go far. Things are so expensive these days, so we couldn't go very far. But we do have, other than a fly on the screen, must have brought it back from the zoo. But we have a zoo that's not too far away, so we're able to afford the gas to get there. So took the family to the zoo. I hope you're hearing me all well. This is a new microphone system, which I happened to buy before doing the Bronco off-road videos with Pat from Outsider Reviews. But Pat from Outsider Reviews, essentially I just watched him sneakily and was like, okay, so that's how these things work. So brought the family to the zoo, had a great time. Vacation, normally we would have flown somewhere, but not this year with the price of things. Got a surfboard, Billy, the bucking, I don't know what that is, some sort of cow-like. I know what this is. This is, I'm not, well, jokingly, this is one of my cousins. No, but Maddie had a great time there. We've got myself and Layla. And other than the zoo and the economy, we've been taking a lot of our time here to try to fix the black Porsche. Nothing too serious, but the back rear window, myself and my good buddy who lives across the street, Jan, he helped me change this window. We had to manufacture, kind of create our own part because, well, those bolt on, bolt in parts, bolt out, bolt in parts aren't always as simple as they should be. So we actually had to play around, kind of make a part there. But this has been complicated because over-engineered, there's a whole mechanism that allows you to put the top back or not based on where the vehicle reads the window positions are at. And they need to all be up or down when you're opening and closing. And now when we replugged one of the windows, we tested it and now the button's reversed and it reads the window in the wrong position. So no more kind of Porsche problems. So just weird engineering rules behind the logiciel in the programming has made it so that this is kind of unusable for the moment. Still starts, still great. No IMS bearing problem, but be wary before you buy a European vehicle, unless it's new or still under warranty, or you buy it used and you get a manufacturer's extended warranties, not some, random company's warranty where it's a lot easier for them to just deny everyone, get sued, and then call bankruptcy and change names essentially. Make sure it's a manufacturer's warranty. So there is always a point in a lesson that will save you thousands of dollars when you watch Johnny here at Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. Also been trying to take some time with the family, with the newborn daughter. Went out to dinner, drove down to Vermont. Had a fantastic meal at the east side. You get this view as you eat. Not us, we're not there every weekend, obviously, but the view of the lake and the boats, great place, highly recommend it. So dressed up, took the family out. Also, a few less lives lately because we've been trying to get you, and I say we because I used to always do this with Marie, but now she's all about baby, and that's great. She's doing a great job as a mom, but we've been trying to get you more videos that are, real world videos, not in this manufactured office slash kind of sound room. It's been really hard to get great sound out of this because there's no insulation on the outside wall and I'm not ready to tear the wall apart. So I keep adding stuff, but never quite get it right. Speaking of not quite getting things right, yes, M. Peugeot, Temu parts. I don't know if I'd buy automobile parts from Temu. I have a big question mark in my head, even for tools. Let us know if you have experience. I know my tool brands, I've always broken all my tool brands, but I've only ever dealt with two, and I haven't gone into the high end. I haven't gone into Snap-on, and maybe I should. Not a sponsored video, YouTube. Also, spending a little bit of money, because sometimes it's worth paying the pros instead of doing, a compound and polish. If it's just a wax or a light compound that's due, highly recommend you do it yourself. But if you got a hard, deep compound to do, watch out. You could go right through your clear coat. So send the red 911 off. And it's now been at the mechanics for 2 weeks. So Toyota MR2 at the mechanics with a blown engine. But hey, at least we're having fun off-roading, and the damage to the vehicle won't cost very much because I just haven't fixed it yet. And Peugeot, thank you very much for offering us a Bronco bumper. And great, the stock Bronco bumper, but we need to keep the steel one on because I probably still want to go off-roading again. I also went to some car shows to highlight some of the top cars that I found at the car show, my favorites. Celica here. So that kind of pretty much concludes. We're going to get into the stories here with US, USD, USA, Canada, US, Mexico, the USD market, the manufacturers in trouble. General Motors to lay off 1,000 salaried employees worldwide. Part of that is due to the whole electric vehicle, everything that's going on with electric vehicles. But Ford's doing a major change to its plans, and I think that's great. Ford's also being pretty darn responsible when it comes to taking care of their products. So if there's an issue with windows, Ford's really proactive. They're not going to say, it's the owner's fault. They're not going to wait until you buy the vehicle. If they know of an issue, they'll handle it before you even buy the vehicle. If you have the issue while you own the vehicle, we'll get to that story. A major recall with the 2.7 liter engine affecting the Ford Bronco, affecting the Explorer, the Aviator, the Nautilus, the F-150, the Ford Edge. So major recall going down there. But Ford's going to take care of it. They're not going to leave you. It's not going to be like the story with some Toyota, either very reluctant recalls, like on that Tundra hybrid engine, which has turned out to be really kind of horrible. Horrible. Or, the Corolla GR story, the two Corolla GRs catching fire and the owner is just being blamed because their computer says that they drove above the speed limit, above 85 miles per hour, above 137 kilometers an hour, 136.7 kilometers to be more precise. So, yeah, before anyone buys these, windows being changed, I'm going to assume some sort of quality issue. And I just want to point this out. Bronco 6th Gen, Nick Stellakis, saying, "Dear Ford Motor Company, give the people what they want." Yes, that would be quite incredible. A 5-liter, I'd say the 5-liter in a Bronco, I'd like that more than the 392 in the Jeep, because the 5-liter in the Bronco is starting to be known as debatable, but it's starting to be known for many as the best swap or crate engine or swap drop-in engine, replacement engine, upgraded engine, the best because it's very, very good. It's extremely reliable and it takes boost without an issue. It can take so much boost. You can get 700 horsepower out of these engines with very little other than just adding boost, a supercharger. So Ford, take note, that's what we want. It would beat out, in my opinion, the Jeep 392, much bigger engine, but not as good. We know this thing is bulletproof. So my suggestion for the day, now Toyota, you're hurting me here. The Toyota MR2 is on, I think it's its 4th engine. Yeah. And the vehicle only has about 137,000 kilometers. So what is that? 70,000 miles, 75,000 miles. And yeah, that's what a Toyota MR2 with no engine in the back looks like. It now looks like a drag car because the back end sits up so high. I had put new suspension on this, new wheels, new tires, new wheels, new front lip, painted about half the vehicle. So it's starting to look pretty sharp if you're into older Japanese vehicles. But if this thing could just stop blowing motors. So Johnny's Car Care and Reviews is going to be strapped for cash because this is probably going to end up costing 12 to 15 grand because we've got 31 hours already into the vehicle just recently, and then it blew up on the dyno. But the companies looks like they're going to be good to me. They said they're going to work something out, try to find a happy middle ground. So that's what's been going on with the channel. I know, I'm sorry, I said I'd leave it to the end, but I figured we've got all the regulars in the show. That way, when we cut this up, when we get to really the down, gritty, dirty news that we all need to know and be aware of to really know what's going on with the automotive industry, with, the Chinese market and the USD market, well, we can just jump right into it and really pound it out. So we're going to be talking about the Ford Bronco, the Ford Ranger, And of course, we'll talk about the Bronco Sport even, the Ford Maverick, Ford Escape canceled, probably 2026, Ford Bronco and Ford Ranger power increase, but there's a real dangerous catch, so beware. I've talked about this before if you're a very regular of the channel, and if you never miss an episode, you'll know I talked about this 2 or 3 different times in the last 3-4 years. But we'll make sure everyone's up to date, up to speed with all that, so that they don't end up, losing 20 grand. So that's what's going on. Let's get to the show, folks. Let me just get, and been taking walks here with Maryse. That's what we were doing earlier this afternoon. And the weather's starting to get cold here in Canada. Colder, it's not very much summer weather. Last night was 4 degrees, so just above freezing at night. You got the deer out in the back, you got Marie and the baby, so just trying to make sure we've got time for the baby and as well as all this important news. So sorry, the lives aren't gonna, for the rest of the year, will not be every single Sunday. They'll be maybe every second or third week, but as often as possible every second week. And also because we want to bring you more live videos where they're kind of evergreen videos that are relevant, doing off-roading with the Bronco that's as relevant this week as it will be in 10 years from now. So UAW says Stellantis may not build new midsize pickup. We'll cover that. Painful news. The USD market isn't doing quite as well as I would like it to be doing. So let's get right into that. All that and more. That's the show for tonight. So give me a sec here. Prost. Hope you're enjoying your Labor Day. Thank you very much for making it to the show. So glad we've got pretty much all the regulars in the show now. So let me just timestamp this. I'm going to start here. All right, we've got trouble for Stellantis. Stellantis is pointing the finger at Dodge, Ram, Chrysler, and Jeep, and essentially making it pretty clear that they feel that they are failing in a very significant way. When your boss, pulls himself out of his vacation to come have a little chat with you, you know there's trouble. That is some very clear finger pointing. There's going to be some major mix up, a stir up, a lot of changes coming to the Ram, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge brand. They're failing, and it's been made really clear by the head, Mr. Tavares. So let's check this out. So we got right here, Mr. Tavares on holidays, and cut his holidays, I guess, in the middle, right short, to go check in on, he's the CEO of Stellantis, but he needed to check in on, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram. He went to plants in the US. He came to the Canadian plant, talking to some very high up managers, even visiting some dealerships. And this spells trouble. There's going to be probably a silver lining at the end of this. 1 or 2 things will occur. Rich GT350R saying they did it to themselves. Yeah, a little bit of backstory here, and I agree with Rich GT350R. This is a really good. I love the live comments because we get to have a bit of a conversation. Outsider Reviews saying he's out, he messed it all up. Well, yes, but at the same time, he was following the market. So what happened? What caused operating income at Stellantis to plummet by over 40% in the first half of the year? Well, they went against the consumers, the buyers. Remember, in many episodes, I say we need to vote with our dollars. Well, the buyers, the consumers, the heart of, or maybe the legs, because it's what gets a company moving and keeps a company propped up. We'll call it us buyers and consumers. We'll say we're the legs of the auto industry. You can't get anywhere without us, or wheels. Let's not exclude anyone, but we're the legs here. We're what keeps the companies moving. And what do Dodge, Ram, Chrysler, Jeep clients want? Well, they've always wanted power, generally V8, and not electric vehicles. there has been some success, some good success with plugins. You think of the plug-in Jeeps, popular. But the plugins have done well. The Wrangler 4xe, there's other examples, but the 4xe has done extremely well, that plug-in Jeep. And here's the issue. They didn't cater to the people that are actually keeping the company up, propelled up, surviving. They just, went down the road of saying, we're cutting out the Charger and the Challenger, and then saying, well, we're not cutting them out. They're going to come back as electric vehicles. This is going back a few years. And then it was, well, they'll come back as a six-cylinder and an electric vehicle, but the V8 is still out. Now, I can't just blame Mr. Tavares here, because there's a lot of politics involved in this, and I'm not going to go deep into politics. So don't unsubscribe, folks. I need you. I need you here. And please do subscribe if you're not already subscribed. 85%, a little over 85% of our viewers aren't subscribed, and it would really help us out here at Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. Help feed and dress those poodles, and take care of the family here. We're a small family business. It'd really help out if you subscribe. But he went down the road of pretty much every manufacturer, not Toyota. And what did Toyota do different than the rest of the market? Toyota didn't just go all in on EVs, and this is why Ford's in trouble as well. Ford needs to rework their entire master plan. The master plan was, let's go full in on EVs. And that's what he did here. And that's one of the mistakes. This one's not on him. He made one mistake that's probably 100% on him. But he didn't do anything wrong in doing what the rest of the market was doing. And the rest of the market was going all in on EVs. But here's the issue. Your traditional buyers for Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Rams, they don't want EVs. Obviously, they don't mind plugins with a gas engine. But look, the Jeep 392, the Wrangler 392 brought so much positive attention to the Jeep brand. Cutting out the Challenger and the Charger altogether, and then saying, we're just dropping the V8, there'll be a six-cylinder. Not a great move. A lot of people aren't impressed that the Ram is going to be a six-cylinder. And yes, he is bending to the pressure, the political pressure. There's this essentially carbon tax where your fleet average needs to be really, really high, or you pay billions in essentially fines, or you buy carbon credits from, let's say, your competitor, Tesla, making it harder to get into the electric game. So that's not on him. It seemed like the only choice for all these big head honchos was to go all electric. I have said from the very, very early on this channel, so I'd say probably at least 2 years, but I think 3 or 4 years, I've been saying that I've always felt that plug-in hybrids are the best, because us buyers and consumers, what do we worry about? We worry about ideally, we hope to be able to go on vacation a few times a year, and we worry about not being able to get there. I don't want to drive down to Florida and have to stop 13 times to plug in my electric truck and stop for 45 minutes after losing a bit of time to go drive and find that charger. We just don't want that. We want something that is all encompassing, all inclusive, that we can do whatever we can think of with it, even if it is only once or once a month or even once a year. We want to be able to do it. So electric vehicles, what do we us consumers ask for? A lot of range. Well, they can't offer us an incredible range of 1,000 kilometers or 600-700 miles because of the cost associated with that. And anyways, that's just sending money. In most cases, that's just sending money over to China, which is your future down the road competitor. So not the best. But anyways, CEO of Stellantis went down the road that pretty much everyone did except for Toyota. But remember, Toyota's CEO stood his ground and said, I'm not going down this all-electric road. It's not the right path to take. And essentially it would look like he got pushed out. He's not there anymore. The one who believed in the gas engines and the plug-ins and just making gas engines and plug-ins more efficient and having better autonomy, he's not there anymore. What even annoys me the most about this is, for most of us, let's say a Ford Escape plug-in. That is an all-electric vehicle 99% of the time. Most people, what's the average distance people travel to work? It's about 25 miles, about 35 kilometers. So the Escape, 99% of the time, will take you to work and back, all electric. Unfortunately, the people making the rules don't understand this, and they count the Ford Escape as a vehicle that's about 70 miles per gallon, or about 3-4 liters per 100 kilometers. They're not taking into account how it's going to be used 99% of the time. Us buyers, that 1% of the time, we want to be able to drive straight to Florida and not have to recharge. A plug-in Escape or a plug-in Jeep, a Jeep Wrangler 4xe, you drive to Florida. You stop for gas. Well, if it's the Jeep Wrangler, probably, maybe 3 times. If it's the Escape, you stop for gas once. And that's what we want. But how the government rules are set up, they completely ignore that, and they don't treat these plugins like gasoline, like electric vehicles. So it's not enough to offset the production of all these trucks. That, as the US market, we love our trucks. As such, American automakers have had to run down the road of all electric vehicles, because the criteria behind those laws that will have them face billions of dollars in fines, or less, but still billions of dollars in bought credit taxes has to be someone in your industry. So Tesla, you're just helping out the competitor. That's what this guy faced. That's what's going on. Where was his mistake? Well, he did make one major mistake, and it's going to cost a lot of jobs. And that mistake is he didn't cut prices and I was talking about this. It's frustrating. As a community, we talked about this. You've said it in the comment section. I've said it loud and clear now. What was it, early 2023, I was saying, late 2022, saying, yeah, prices are going to have to maybe come down. And then in late 22, early 2023, it was clear prices need to come down. Ford brought their prices down, but Mr. Tavares over at Stellantis, maybe it was a lack of oversight, a lack of maybe he didn't micromanage it, but the prices did not come down. And what do Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram buyers, what have they traditionally always wanted? Great prices. They've been buying Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, and Ram products because, while a Ram 1500 was less than the other trucks on the market, and it gave you a good, very good looking truck with a very cool engine, great sound, but thinner doors, it rusts, it's not perfect, it has its faults, but people wanted that low price point. But what happened? Prices increased tremendously everywhere, but they really went up at Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, and they never came back down. That's a major failing. That's on him. And now it's tough, because now they've got inventories. And Outsider Reviews covered this really well, but he mentioned, inventories are way too high. And it's true, inventories are so high. Some dealerships, there's one dealership in the States that doesn't want to sell Ram, the whole Chrysler, Jeep, Ram anymore. And they're telling Stellantis, buy back these vehicles, take them back. We don't want them. So probably over $100 million lawsuit is ensue. It's going down. And that's too bad, because there's a lot of jobs tied around in this, and it's tough when you're the head CEO and you see your volume has gone down by, 30%. 2019 sales were much better than they are today. Inventories are high. Do you cut prices? But then if you cut prices, but your sales don't dramatically increase, your bottom line, you're not making more money, and they need to make more money. That's what needs to happen. So unfortunately, they're cutting jobs. They're offering buyout packages, asking people, say, take this money, go into retirement. And it's tough. It's tough, folks. So that's what's going down in the truck industry, as well as SUV and cars. Not pretty, folks. It's a bloodbath out there. There's going to be a lot of potential plant closings, but some of those plants actually might not close, because one of two things is going to happen. Either they're going to take the risk and say, you know what, we're going to dramatically cut back prices and then hope that volume goes up 30 or 40% by cutting back prices. As Outsider Reviews mentioned in his video, they need to cut prices by about 20, 30%. It'd be a risk to take. The easy road is just to lay people off and say, well, volume's low, we're laying people off. But the long term, not so good. So the other thing that could happen, well, you've got, hopefully, Chrysler. Chrysler may partner up, may either a partnership or just sell right out to BYD, but BYD needs to get into the automobile segment. They want to sell, they're selling vehicles really well in Europe, and BYD wants in. So BYD is a Chinese company. They're making what so far is seen as inexpensive, relatively inexpensive, cheap vehicles that are selling very, very well. They've surpassed Tesla according to some studies, they've surpassed Tesla when it comes to, innovation, quality product. So they're not making a bad product. So what's going down? Let's talk about this. BYD and Stellantis are dismissing, both Stellantis and BYD are dismissing that there's any acquisition talks going down. But it's weird because BYD, well, they did visits. They did visits to plants. They've been meeting with people at Stellantis. They've been checking out the plants for Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram. I would be very surprised if Stellantis would ever sell Jeep or Ram, but Dodge and Chrysler could very well be sold. Chrysler is essentially just the Pacifica right now. And Dodge, the models aren't selling all that well. So BYD could either partner up or flat out buy out, because that would be a backdoor into the US market. Because right now, Chinese vehicles that are coming in, it looks like the US politicians and Canadian politicians are going to make sure there's 100% tariffs on those vehicles. So you're not going to buy a Chinese vehicle if it's the same price or more than their US made vehicle. So we're going to see what happens with this story. But I'd say it's either going to be a flat out acquisition or some sort of partnering up, the way Volkswagen and Ford work together. They're now, they share things. So Ford has Volkswagen platforms. Volkswagen will have Ford platforms so that Volkswagen can build a truck off the Ranger platform. This type of sharing, partnering up, is going down. And companies are needing to more and more so do that to survive. For example, Ford's losing money on electric vehicles, but don't be surprised if down the road your Ford vehicle is going to be advertising to you. So for dollars to help keep the revenues up, to keep the profits flowing, don't be surprised if your Ford is going to be, and this could be actually, if it's done well, it could be really great. If it's done poorly, it will be horrific. But your vehicle essentially would be like, yo, Johnny, would you like to go for your, and I don't go to any particular coffee places. I get at home when I do make coffee, but let's say I did. Well, say, would you like to, there's a special on your coffee at your coffee shop that you normally like to go to. Would you like us to put that in the GPS? That's if it's done well. If it's done poorly, it'll be like driver assist technology, where it can be extremely helpful or extremely annoying. So what's going down with the BYD? Well, the BYD officials recently visited several key Stellantis facilities in North America. And this is according to the Chrysler Technical Center they did visit the Chrysler Technical Center in Auburn Hills, Michigan, the Brampton and Windsor assembly plants in Canada, and the Chelsea Proving Grounds. So either a partnership or an acquisition, because then they could build, Chinese designed vehicles. But if they're assembled here in North America and then exported, some of them get exported. So if they're built in the States and exported into Canada and Mexico, or even Europe, well, then they'll be able to have those vehicles built and sold within the United States. And the United States market is, remember, it's the second biggest market. And the North American market is huge, because you've got Canada and Mexico buying and building vehicles. So this could actually be great news. This could save a ton of jobs. And essentially, Chrysler has a long history And it would only be it'd be smart, I think, on BYD's part to still badge them as Chryslers, because people will want to buy Chryslers. When you remember, your grandfather, for example, if they bring back Plymouth, add a Plymouth Satellite, essentially kind of like similar to a Roadrunner, but add a Plymouth Satellite. If there's a cool Plymouth vehicle as a second vehicle for the family, yeah, I would consider it. Depends what it is, but I would definitely consider it. And I think a lot of people would. And then you could, badge them as BYD when you export them out of the country. So interesting. Some jobs could definitely be saved. BYD has a lot of money because actually currently at 6.8 or 6.9% of BYD is owned by Berkshire Hathaway. And that has unleashed a wave of money. So BYD has access to a ton of money with the purchasing of a good portion of the company by Berkshire Hathaway. So that's Warren Buffett's company. Warren Buffett knows what he's doing. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if there's some sort of collaboration, partnership, or acquisition of Chrysler. It could turn out to could actually work out quite well, because it can make Chrysler prices on their vehicles come way down. They'd be assembled in North America. Those plants could avoid closing, or being really have their employment levels really come down. Could really help overall keep those plants running. But generally, manufacturing electric vehicles requires less workers, less employees. So it's not going to be an all, even if this works out, it's not an all rosy, hunky-dory story here, but it could save a lot of jobs. And it's not just the jobs in the factory, it's the transport, the trucks, the boats, the trains. We need this for our economy. I think the auto industry is extremely important. Look, Britain lost their auto industry for whatever, for various reasons, some political, but they lost their industry, and that really changed things. So we'll leave it at that. I'm not going to get into politics in any way, but BYD is probably coming our way. I highly suspect that. If that doesn't turn out, well, maybe it's, I believe, the grandson of the Chrysler founder is actually eyeing to buy back the Chrysler brand. And that too could actually occur, because I don't see Stellantis parting with Jeep. People love their Jeeps. They're selling a lot of them. I don't see Stellantis parting with Ram in any way whatsoever. But parting with Chrysler, I don't think would cause them any heartache. On top of that, if it does happen, well, you'd have a true Chrysler man and name behind the brand. I wouldn't be surprised if Plymouth came back. And I think there's a lot of people that would be pretty excited about Plymouth coming back. So this, if you want to read on this, you can head over to Mopar Insiders. Robert S. Miller wrote on this, and let's see what happens. One of two things needs to happen. Either the BYD acquisition, or the founder of Chrysler, the grandson, also a Mr. Chrysler, buys back the brand, but Stellantis needs to do something, and heck, you've got buyers lined up pretty much. If you go back to Ford when they closed down Mercury, or GM when they closed down many of their brands, Saturn and the full list, Pontiac, wouldn't it have been better to sell than to just cut? So, and this is a situation if volume was incredible over at Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, or even if it was really low on Chrysler, because they're essentially just making the Pacifica, but you could still use the factory, retool the factory, and build Jeeps there, or whatever model is selling in incredible volume. But Ram truck sales have been low because they went against really their base, their buyers, their consumers. They want trucks. They want vehicles that make noise, look good, sound good, not electric vehicles, and they want them at a great price. And the Ram trucks went up in price must be about 30% that they went up in price, 20-30%, and they used to have tons of rebates, and then the rebates got completely removed and barely came back. So they're just way more expensive than they used to be. And that's not your Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram buyer. So that's why they're in trouble. Part of this is the CEO of Stellantis's fault, and part of it isn't. But a major part of it, the part that is, in my opinion, very much on him, is that they didn't bring down the prices. One, they brought the prices up way more, kind of ignoring their customer base. And then they didn't, when seeing that inventory was going up and that people weren't buying them, that they had lost touch with their consumer base, they didn't bring the prices back down. And I doubt they're going to bring the prices back down now, because they're just looking at it as, look, we're bleeding money, we're losing money, volume and sales are down. Let's cut jobs. It's the simple solution. It's the foolproof, safe solution to stop the leak in the boat, to stop the bleeding. But you're not making the boat better. You're not fit, if you want to succeed, you got to sell more. They're not going to sell more with the current prices. They'll just continue to have poor results in sales, but they won't spend so much building them because they'll build less and people will lose jobs. And that, I think that's unfortunate. Rich GT350R, thank you very much for posting charger prices there. Yeah, that's a major issue. 82,000. That's, yeah. Who are they kidding? So what's this going to lead to? So I'm just going to take a note here where we're at in the show for when we cut this up. What's this going to lead to? This is going to lead to plans changing. And Ford's got a similar story. We'll get to the full Ford story. But let's do episode 2. Episode 2. Ram's midsize truck is an on-again, off-again love story. If you're into the midsize trucks and you like Rams, you're going to feel pretty heartbroken tonight. This is pretty sad. Many were disappointed when the Dakota, great midsize truck, the Dakota left the US market. It was cut out. And many have been waiting for its return. And its return has been discussed. Its return has been announced. And it's on again and off again, like a bad high school relationship where you just can't come to terms and say, you know what, this isn't a healthy relationship for me, or whether it's a bad relationship with, whether it's drugs or alcohol or whatever kind of addiction you're dealing with. You know what the on and off again is. And there's been an on and off again because, well, Stellantis they've pushed themselves into a corner, and that corner has not a dime on the ground. And the mid-sized truck from Ram is getting canceled, it looks like, even though, the smaller trucks like the Maverick selling great, fantastic. And in this segment, you've got the Tacoma selling about 200,000 units per year. You've got the Ford Ranger, good sales. You've got the Jeep Gladiator, good selling trucks. You got the Honda Ridgeline, not bad. Chevy Colorado, GMC Canyon, Nissan Frontier. You've got some big names in there, some good trucks. The Dakota, I think there's plenty of space to jump into that segment. And it looks like Stellantis is going to need to switch gears. If you're watching this as a live, you know exactly why it's switching gears at the end of the video. If you don't know what I'm talking about because you're watching this as a small episode, at the end of the video, click either left or right. They're going to suggest a video to you, and it's almost certainly going to be a video about, Stellantis being in major trouble, or really Jeep, Dodge, Ram, and Chrysler being in major trouble, and what all that spells and what it smells like. Smells like hooey, smells like crap. So the United Auto Workers Union has kind of unleashed this news because essentially they're publicly calling on Stellantis to keep a commitment the automaker made to reopen its Belvidere assembly plant in Illinois as part of the new master contract agreement forged between the two last year. So I covered the UAW strike, what their demands were. If you're part of the channel back then, thank you so much. And the UAW, Sean Fain, says, the victories we won last year in our stand-up strike at the Big Three weren't suggestions. They were binding commitments in a union contract. And we as the UAW intend to enforce that contract to the fullest extent. So that's UAW President Sean Fain, direct quote. that's how we know that there's an issue here. If they're talking about not getting that factory up and running with the jobs in there and whatnot, and keeping that employment there, if they're not talking about retooling it to build a mid-size truck, if it's not going to be up and running, well, that's because there's no mid-size truck, unless the rare chance that they send production to Mexico or China. But with 100% tariffs being announced by US and Canadian lawmakers, I highly doubt anyone's going to be thinking about sending production over to China right now. It's more like China that's going to be using our assembly plants and our employees to assemble vehicles for them. That's more likely to avoid those tariffs. But the UAW, the head is saying that the Belvedere plant for 2024, it's threatened, that they've been told that it's not a go. And they're essentially saying, well, no, you promised in the contract, written, signed contract, you said it was a go for 2024. So negotiation in regards to jobs, number of jobs, salaries, job security. And now it may not be coming to fruition. The union is saying, Stellantis, you have to pull through with this. But if they don't build a small truck, they don't have anything to build in that factory. Sorry, a medium-sized truck, like the Jeep Gladiator, like the Canyon, like the Ranger, the Tacoma, in that size. So Stellantis has made it really clear that the US market at the moment is doing pretty poorly. Not doing so great, losing money. They've even mentioned that they might kill off up to 24 brands, and apparently saying Maserati won't be one of them, from my understanding. So odd, but anywho, Maserati, not the most, not the best reliability. It doesn't have the best history for reliability, and really bad resale. But you can pick them up for cheap used vehicles. So really interesting there. That's a whole different topic. What I did want to cover is that if you're waiting around, if you're saying I'm not going to buy a Tacoma or a Ford Maverick, Ford Ranger, Honda Ridgeline, because I want to wait for that Dakota, you might be waiting a lot longer. It's already been gone for a good number of years. It must be, 20 years almost now, around that the Dakota is gone. Well, you might be waiting another, who knows? You could end up waiting another 20 years before it comes back, because right now things are not going well enough at Stellantis for that to be in the works, unfortunately. So that is our mid-truck news before we get into talking about the Ranger. More power for the Ranger. Yes, we always like it when it's more power. And that's the episode 2 for tonight's live. Just wanted to cover that. A bit of bad news, because I think a mid-size truck, let us know in the comments section, of course. If the price is too high, many of us would not have been interested. But if a Dakota, a nice mid-size truck with great styling, and Ram traditionally has big, powerful, great sounding engines. So would you have bought a Dakota if, let's say, they offered a V6? Let us know in the live chat. Would you have bought a Dakota if they would have offered a V8? Thank you very much, M. Peugeot. That will buy me more than a new spark plug. It'll probably buy me 2 new spark plugs for the Toyota MR2. So that's very generous. Thank you very much for the $10. Really appreciate any way that people can donate, whether they're donating their time because they watch the full episode, whether they're donating by subscribing and turning bell notifications on, or if some of you even donate with money, and that's not necessary, but unbelievably kind and really, really appreciated. And Peugeot even offered us a new bumper for the Bronco, but we can't take him up on that offer. That is far too generous, far too kind. And I worry also that the semi-plastic bumper, I could do probably a little bit too much damage to that, because already the steel bumper, thank goodness I've got a steel bumper. Thank goodness I've got steel bash plates. If you want to see them getting bashed around, catch our videos on the Ford Bronco versus the Bronco Raptor versus Wildtrak. So thank you very, very much. And yeah, outsider reviews, that's right. If you become a member, you might be invited to stay with Johnny for a weekend. Yeah, or meet up at a restaurant in the States, with members. Some members I've met up in Florida at the restaurant, in North New Hampshire, and not just New Hampshire, North Carolina. I've met up with a couple members, so thank you very much. Yes, you might even stay at my place. So that's right. Thank you for a reminder, Pat. I'd love to do. We need to get down and plan a date to do. You come down, you stay down, and we do a live together. I made it down to Quebec City. Now it's your turn to make it over west. Hit the West Road and come on over. So that's our mid-size truck. I know the Ranger. I've always been. I think a lot comes down to whether people are going to want a Dakota, if it would have existed, would have come down to, would they have thrown a 4-cylinder in it and left it at that? Because right now the Tacoma used to be the king of the hill, the option to get. But the sales might continue to be incredible on Tacoma, probably. But many of us have our doubts about the transmission, huge doubts about the hybrid 4-cylinder engine, because it's just not very fuel efficient. So right now I find the most logical, sensible choice is part of the Ford Ranger's panels are aluminum, so they won't rust. I like that a lot. The 4-cylinder 2.3 liter is proven, as on the Mustang, 2016 Mustang, 2016 Ford Focus RS. That 2.3 liter has proven itself through tons of Ford Explorers on the road with a 2.3 liter. It's a good engine. But you can even now get the 2025 Ford Ranger with a 2.7 liter V6 twin turbo. And that thing is a ton of fun to drive, other than a recall, but won't be affecting the Ranger. So I think Ram would have had to have built this truck with an offering of, I think if they offered it with a V8, they would have sold a ton, but in today's political market, I don't think that could be done unless it's in very small numbers like the Jeep 392. But a V6, the Hurricane engine in this, that would have been sweet. That is actually the Ram buyers. Looks like they're really not adopting or liking that inline 6, the Hurricane V6. But I think that's a great option, solid option. But we're probably not going to see any of that. It's so far right now. Things would really have to turn around at Stellantis, and I think they're just going to lay people off. I'd say there's more chances of Chrysler coming up with a mid-size truck if BYD buys it, or if the grandson of the Chrysler founder buys it, we'd more likely get a truck out of them first. But the 2.7 liter Ranger is incredible. And if you have a lot of money, but not that much, a lot of money, but relatively a great deal, Ford Ranger Raptor. So much less than a Bronco Raptor. But it's a 3-liter V6 twin turbo. And I had my doubts about that engine until with Pat, thankfully, my brother Pat invited me down to drive the Bronco Raptor. And I can now say from a 2.7 liter to a 3 liter, there is a lot of difference. And a lot of that actually is programming and tuning. So if you have a 2.7 liter, no, you can make it. You can go from an exciting engine to blow your socks off engine. Pat, Outsider Review, saying, Raptor. Yes, that is the sound. Watch our videos. You'll hear the engine. It's really great. So that summarizes up our story here on the mid-size truck from Ram. Forget about it. Let's move on. Ford's future plans are failing. That's the next episode. Thousands of jobs at Ram, Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler. Thousands of jobs being lost and thousands more at stake. So that's unfortunate. But Ford is making a timely shift. So let's get into this. Episode 3 of the night. Episode 3, just going to timestamp this, folks, because we don't have Marie beside me. My buddy across the street, really smart guy. Who knows? He might join us for some lives. And Pat will join us. He can't be here every time we do a live, obviously. We're pretty far away. But drop the T on the 2025 Bronco. It's not all good news. I think I'll wait because the news isn't I'd say be positive for some. It's overall positive. You've got a major recall for the Bronco affecting older Broncos. The 2025 Bronco isn't going to be affected by that recall on the 2.7 liter. But there's probably visually not going to be a whole lot changing with the Bronco. So I think the 2025 Bronco. So I think that will make some people really happy and really disappoint other people. You know, people who have a 21, 22 Bronco who want another Bronco but need the style to change, they're not going to be happy. But people who haven't brought a Bronco yet because they're waiting for whatever it may be, interest rates to go down, prices to come down, better timing, whatever it may be, they're going to be happy because they're going to get their Bronco that they fell in love with when it was first revealed all those years ago. But Bronco, way more power available for the Bronco, and that's what I want to cover. But we'll get there pretty darn soon. I will switch up the order of the show just to keep the really general. This is the last real general piece, then we'll get into individual pieces, but I'll switch up the order for you and Peugeot, and I'll cover that Bronco news. So here we go. Ford's future plans are failing. There's a new master plan, and I think there's a lot of good news in that, because the new master plan I think is excellent. It's going to be all about hybrid vehicles, and we're being told hybrid vehicles, but I can tell you most certainly a whole lot of plugins, which I love because you get the benefit of an electric vehicle most of the time, and you can still drive very long distances without having to pull over and plug in. You just use the gas engine in those cases. So Ford's future plans are failing, and it's all good for us consumers and buyers. The new plan is a whole lot better for us. Let's talk about that here, and by us, I mean buyers and consumers. What was Ford's plan? Where is it going? Well, the photo here gives a really good indication. So if you like reading, please continue to watch the show, but you can read this later. Road and Track, really good article. We'll go a little more in depth, I believe, because we'll talk a little bit more about the history, what the plan was, and what it's going to be. But the plan really was a full-out switch to electric vehicles. There were rumors that the Ford Escape was getting cut. There are official rumors, not just rumors, but it's no longer rumor. The Ford Edge is getting cut, but the Escape getting cut was a rumor. Ford was really cutting back on anything that was gasoline powered, and they're going all in on EV and losing billions every year doing so. We were supposed to get a Ford F-150 Lightning, a new, drastically changed, consider, you know, monumental changes coming to the Lightning, and that was going to be for 2025, and now that's been delayed by 18 months. So it's going to be changes for now for 2027. And in the meantime, for a while we were pretty worried. At the Oakville plant, it looked like people wouldn't have anything to do, that they'd be laid off for a couple of years. But now the Oakville plant is actually going to be making Super Duty vehicles, which is great because we need more Super Duty vehicles. They're selling like hotcakes. We don't have enough inventory, and inventory needs to go up on the Super Duty. And Ford was cutting everything out. They're going to come out with a three-row, that's a 6 or 7-seater SUV. They're cutting out the Ford Explorer. Bye-bye Explorer. Bye-bye Aviator. But they're essentially, a lot of these models were going to be coming back as full electric vehicles. But us buyers and consumers, we want a vehicle that can do it all. Even if we hope to be able to go on vacation more than once a year. And it's tough in this current state. Inflation, prices high, pay not going up at the same pace as inflation. It's hard out there. But the plan was all these electric vehicles would come in. 3-row SUV, new electric truck, major changes to the Lightning. Huge, monumental, according to Jim Farley, CEO of Ford. But now that's been pushed to 2027 for the Lightning. The 3-row electric SUV has been cut. So who knows what's going on with the Explorer? Will they still use the name? But a lot is in the air right now. So on August 21st, Ford announced a major rework of its future EV plans. Yeah, that's Road and Track. Thank you very much. That's well said. So the T3 electric pickup truck model, though, that got its delay as well, because from Ford, you can expect, it was looking like we're going to get another full-size electric truck. So we've got a delay there. But what is actually interesting is there are still plans for an electric mid-size truck. So something Ranger or Toyota Tacoma sized. We're still looking at getting an all-electric version of that. But the Lightning, with its monumental changes, getting pushed back to 2027. The Oakville plant will no longer build it. They're going to do Super Duties. So bread and butter of Ford. And what are we going to be getting? We're going to be getting a lot of hybrid vehicles, a lot of plug-in vehicles. So while the Escape, 2026 Escape, is getting cut, so let's switch over quickly to that story to help cover what's going on here. But the Escape here, it is getting cut. And we don't know if Ford will reuse the same name, but probably the full gasoline version of the Escape is going to get cut. Will the Escape use the same name, or will they come down with a new name? But we're going to have something similar in size, and instead of original plan being all electric, and you have your restrictions, you can't. If you want to drive from Canada to Florida for your vacation, you'd have to stop. With my F-150 Lightning that I don't have anymore, I would have had to have stopped about 13 to 16 times. This will come back in some form as a plug-in hybrid. Now, for now, Ford is only saying hybrid, but it can't come back as just a hybrid with current hybrid technologies, because you're going to get fined, essentially, or directly or indirectly fined billions of dollars from the government for not meeting your overall fleet average of, incredible, mind-blowing fuel economy. What is unfortunate with this segment is currently the plug-in Escape does a great job. Most buyers, 99% of the time, they just bought an all-electric vehicle. But that's not how the government counts it. They essentially will look at whether it's 150 or around the 150 kilometer mark and say, what kind of gas, what kind of mileage does it get over this really long distance? Well, the problem is that with its current battery, 14.4 kilowatts, it gets 61 kilometers, or about 45 miles of all-electric driving. So it doesn't count as an electric vehicle. And with all those trucks that Ford and Ram and GM are selling, the overall fuel economy is on the lower end, and they face the risk of being fined billions. It cost Stellantis billions of dollars because Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, and Ram aren't up to par, aren't up to snuff when it comes to these interesting manner of calculating fuel economy. So the Escape should be considered an all-electric vehicle. It should allow Ford to sell, for every plug-in Escape they sell, they should be allowed to sell without penalty 4 or 5 F-150s. But it's just not what's going down. So just a regular hybrid, traditional hybrid, where that you don't plug in, won't save Ford from paying out billions of dollars in essentially carbon taxes. So likely this will come back as maybe a different name, maybe the same name, but a plug-in with a bigger battery, but a plug-in hybrid. So you will have to plug it in every so often, but you'll get better range. So they probably need to, to clear and get a low enough overall average based on the current manner of calculating the fuel economy of a vehicle. They probably need to almost double the battery size. They need to get a good 100 or 60 miles out of the battery in all electric mode. So that's what's going down with the Escape. So Ford's plans, huge overhaul, major changes. And this is why, what we're talking about right now, this is why Ford has been willing to lose billions of dollars per year on the Mach-E, on the Lightning, which they lose money when they sell them. Their production costs are higher. Thankfully, Ford is still keeping production in the US, but major changes. We're going to see less EVs, which I'm okay with. I much prefer plugins. I just want that vehicle that's electric to get to work. And on the weekend, if I've got a long distance drive, or if I want to hear a great sounding engine, I want to hear that great sounding engine. I wouldn't even mind if the next Shelby or Mustang GT was a plug-in V8, but I want that V8. So that's what's going down right there with Ford's future plans. We're going to see a lot less electric vehicles than we had expected. Now, Peugeot is saying it's a relatively light battery, and with a simple redesign of the exhaust, it would tuck right in where the current muffler is. So yes, and Peugeot talking about a bigger battery that could be produced. And for the Bronco, also, you could drop in a battery right there and have something that people would be very happy driving. Imagine a Bronco. They'd have to work out the space, but imagine the demand for a 5-liter V8 plug-in Bronco. It's your electric vehicle 99% of the year, but when you step on the pedal and you turn, you hit the button for EV later, meaning your electric vehicle, you want to save the battery for later, but you get that roar of the V8 coming out of your Bronco. Oh, I think there'd be a lot of very happy consumers. I must say I'm really happy with the 2.7 liter in my Bronco, but after driving the Raptor, I always felt it was a little quiet. Now after driving the Raptor, I can say it's a heck of a lot quiet. But then again, my two Porsche older, I'm not a millionaire here, my two older Porsche 911s, both needing some mechanical work, but they have next to no sound as well. And though, it's a 3.4 liter V6. So that's what's going on. We're going to now switch into the next episode on the show here. We're going to be talking about, I was going to talk about the 2025 Bronco Sport, but I was asked by M. Peugeot, and after he tipped me, I can't say no to him. So we're going to talk about Ford Bronco F-150 Edge Nautilus recall, because that's part of the Bronco news we have tonight. And then we're going to be talking about the 2025 Bronco. So let's start actually with the 2025 Bronco and Ford Ranger power increase. So just got to mark it off so I don't get too confused, because now I'm all over the place. If you haven't already done so, a little over 85% of our viewers are actually non-subscribers. So please subscribe, turn the bell notification on, join us here, become a permanent member, because we need your support and we want to hear your comments in the chat. We've got a great community, really good, friendly people helping each other out. And let's jump into the 2025 Ford Bronco news, not the sport. We'll get back to that just after, because I'm impressed by some of the changes. But some of the changes on the 2025 Bronco Sport are going to really indicate what's almost certainly going down with the 2025 Ford Bronco refresh. So let's do it, folks, right here, right now. Episode all over the place here, but this now becomes episode 4. Ford Bronco and Ford Ranger power increase and changes for 2025. So don't expect any changes visually to the 2025 Ford Ranger. 2024 was your whole new model. So you're going to get a refresh in anywhere from 4 to 3 to 6 years. To play it safe, it's probably going to be 5 years. But the Ford Ranger, don't expect any changes. But don't expect much when it comes to changes to the 2025 Ford Bronco. Look at the Bronco Sport. The new 2025 Ford Bronco barely changed. You've got a little difference in bumpers. You got what I would call kind of like accessory changes. And you do have a fancier, I will say it is a fancier, it's an impressive interior. It now boasts the biggest touchscreen in its segment at 13.2 inches. And even behind the steering wheel, non-touchscreen, but a nice digital screen, 12 inches. So it's boasting some huge, huge screens and some new seats, some new colors. That's basically probably what we can expect out of the 2025 Ford Bronco. Now, they already gave us the big screen, the 12-inch screen, touchscreen for the Bronco for 2024 for all the models. Yes, the price went up, but it became standard equipment. I don't suspect, and I'm not hearing any rumors that we're going to get a bigger touchscreen in the refreshed 2025. And even some people were really starting to doubt that there's going to be a 2025 refresh because they hadn't announced it yet. But I can tell you from experience, Ford, I've seen next model years come out as late as June of the year. So we might get a 2025 refreshed Bronco. It might only show up in March or April of 2025. So don't expect it for December or January. It could happen, but it's at this point starting to become more and more doubtful. But I do really expect a refresh. Like the Bronco Sport 2025, you can probably expect some minor changes to the bumper, front and back. I think something we can probably hope and almost expect. It would be nice, like the Bronco Sport Sasquatch package, that it gets a steel bumper in the back. I would like, and I think a lot of us would like to see steel bumpers on all Sasquatch models, or at least the Wild Track. Because right now the Wild Track feels like, yeah, you're getting a huge upgrade at a huge price increase of a Badlands. But you're getting the Haas 3.0 suspension. It's great, it's comfortable, it does a great job. It can catch a little bit of air. When you land it, the airbags don't go off like a Ram TRX. Heck, when you hit a rock pretty hard, the airbags don't go off. That's a full steel bumper on my Ford Bronco. Catch the videos on that. But I had the steel bumper in one corner go back 2 inches and up 1 inch into the fender. And the airbags didn't go off. And it hit hard enough. I'm really surprised the airbags didn't go off. And in my Badlands, I was jumping it in a field a bunch of years back. Jumped in there, landed a bunch of times, airbags never went off. But things we can expect. Probably major issue with the current Bronco, and you really notice it when you're driving if you've driven a Raptor. So thankfully, outside of reviews, I got to drive the Raptor, Bronco Raptor. Behind the steering wheel is a nice screen, all digital. Currently on your Bronco, you have half analog and kind of a small digital screen. So that way when you put your off-road options up and you see about, you're getting info about angle or about power distribution, all your off-road info is so tiny. So I would expect for 2025, I think it'd be a good move on, and Peugeot, funny man. I do think it'd be great if Ford gave us all the 12-inch behind the steering wheel, a nice non-digital 12-inch screen so that we can better see all that info we want to get our hands on. 4 high, 4 low, thank you for joining the show. Jump into the conversation in the live. You've got a good conversation going off on the side here. So yes, for 2025, Ford Bronco, I highly suspect we'll get a redesign of the bumper. We'll probably get a steel bumper in the back, probably not standard, but maybe standard for all Sasquatch models. Maybe some mild changes to the grille, but beyond that, maybe the plastic fenders, maybe a change. And you know what's interesting about Ford is historically what you see on the special edition models or coming out of the stable from Ford Performance or Shelby. Think about Shelby Mustangs. Odd. Shelby Mustangs often kind of give you a peek at a good idea of what the new model will look like when it comes out, 3-4 years later. So they take, bits and pieces. So I'm definitely thinking, you think of the Everglades, different side fenders. You think of the Raptor, Bronco, different side fenders. I think those are the type of things that we can expect. Little side fender plastics, good chances of a change. Front and back bumper, different styles, probably steel. Screen behind the steering wheel, getting one that's much bigger so we can better see our speed and all our off-road information and then the information about the infotainment system and all that. And probably more when it comes to standard safety technology, just like the 2025 Bronco Sport, we can probably expect, being standard. So we'll get more of the whole automatic headlights, blind spot detection, cross traffic alert when you're backing up, the vehicle alerting you if someone's coming. Those are the type of technologies we can probably expect to become standard. So we're going to get more. We're going to get a price increase, but we're going to get more for our dollar. Now, talking about more for our dollar, we've got a Ford Bronco and Ford Ranger power increase. And you don't have to wait until 2025. You can put this on your 2021 Bronco. Now the new news, the most recent news is about a power increase to the Bronco Raptor, as well as the Ranger, the Raptor, for the 3-liter V6. But we've had one for the 2.7 liter. Just keep in mind, when you get a Ford Performance tune, a power increase, you're going to get a whole lot more power. Ford Ranger and Bronco, we're talking about to the tune of, let me know in the live if you have the exact stats, because I'd have to fish for this. Here it is. So Brett Foote, thank you very much for this article. But we're talking about an extra, the power numbers here, and that's not the main point of the story, because the main point of the story, what really stresses me is that, and I need to make people aware of this. Yeah, for $825 US, it's pretty awesome to get up to 455 horsepower and 536 pound-feet of torque on the Ranger or the Bronco Raptor. That's incredible. 536 pound-feet of torque is more than what you're getting out of the F-150 Raptor. And the F-150 Raptor, remember, it's like $50,000 Canadian dollars more than your Bronco Raptor. Your Bronco Raptor is priced like an F-150 Raptor, but the Ranger Raptor is incredible. It's a steal of a deal. And if you get this inexpensive tune thrown onto your Bronco Raptor, well, I think paying Bronco Raptor money, but having 455 horsepower and 536 pound-feet of torque, heck, it wasn't that long ago that's what the top of the line supercars were putting out in exotics. So good money, but here's what I want to stress. I've said it in the past before, but I want to remind everyone, you're getting a Ford performance warranty. So essentially, a good part, if there's any suspicion, if your engine blows, if there's any suspicion that it could be linked to the added power to the vehicle, you're out. And these tunes almost always require you to put higher octane gas. So if the computer reads out that it can get high enough octane gas because, one time you're out in the boonies and they didn't have whether it's 91 or 93 octane, you're out. And I'm an insider. I'm at a dealer here. I can tell you, there are good chances that if your engine goes, it's going to be blamed on the tune. So be ready to dish out, maybe $20,000, give or take. That can be very dangerous. And also remember that the Ford Performance Warranty, it's not a Ford warranty. Ford Performance, the people that are making these chips, separate from Ford, USA or Ford Canada, it's not the original Ford warranty. It's your Ford warranty is essentially in a good part getting canceled, and instead you've got your Ford Performance warranty from this chip, from the chip maker, the tune maker. So one, you're not going through your traditional route of Ford warranty. You're not dealing with your regular people. You're dealing with Ford Performance. So always a bit of a stress there. It's one of the reasons I haven't tuned any of my toys while they're on warranty. And it's a 3-year, 36,000 mile or 3-year or 60,000 kilometer warranty from when the vehicle was put on the road in service, from when the vehicle was originally bought by its original owner. Whether you are that original owner or not, that's when that warranty is gonna start. So really cool calibration, tons of power. But at that point, if you currently have a 2.7 liter, you've got a tune for that as well. And if you have a 2.3 liter Ford Ranger, there's a tune for that. So you don't have to go out and buy a new 2025 Ford Ranger Raptor. You don't have to buy a brand new 2025 Ford Ranger, but I think that's really worth it. I think this truck blows the segment away. I think it's a leader with the 2.3 liter, and I think it's a clear winner with the 2.7 liter. So I recommend that you buy one. But if you're just not in a position to switch vehicles right now, but you want more power, you want a little more excitement, you want to have that new vehicle feeling again, throw on a calibration. If they won't throw you in jail in your state for changing the muffler, maybe put on a muffler with a little bit more sound. You'll feel like you're driving a whole new beast. And that's my advice for tonight. So you don't get fooled and you save thousands of dollars. And that's what I'm about here at Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. The community members that are always in the live chat, that's what they're about. I really appreciate community members. Thank you so much for all the help and assistance. Thank you for comments going throughout the show. Now let us know in the comments, what do you think of this whole Ford Bronco, Ford Ranger Raptor story, the calibration tune? Would you tune? Would you calibrate? Would you take the risk? Do you feel it's as much of a risk as, it worries and stresses me? I know the money, the price of the tune, the calibration is totally by far worth that the money to power. Incredible, but would you do it to your own? Would you switch up to a Raptor? Or would you keep your current Ranger? Just whether you keep a current Ranger or get a new or used Ranger, are you thinking of getting a new or used Ranger or Ford Bronco? Now, speaking of used Ford Broncos, speaking of used Ford Edges, we're going to be talking about this in the next story, the next episode, because in the next episode, we've got a good illustration, bad news and good news. Really good, really bad news, but really good illustration of what companies need to do when they've got a problem on their hand. So let's check this out right here. Timestamp it. We're up to episode 5 now. All over the place. Change the order here just for M. Peugeot. Long time early adopter. He was in the first show, so like many of you, 4 high, 4 low, ridge view. Many of you were here from the very beginning. Really appreciate it. So let's check this out, the 125 mark. Now, oh wow, and Peugeot's been running the tune for the last 50,000 miles and no problems. That is really, really good information helping out the community. So thank you very much. Don't forget, drop your comments in regards to the story we just talked about. Now let's get into the new story. We're talking about a major recall. So major recall here. I love the 2.7 liter V6. I think it's really, really reliable, but we got a bit of a problem here. Let's dive into it. Let's not blow the story out of proportion. Let's cover the real deal here. So Ford Bronco, Ford F-150, Ford Edge, Ford Nautilus, Explorer, Aviators. We've got a 2.7 liter V6 twin turbo, the Ecoboost, the 2.7 liter Ecoboost. We've got a major recall coming in here. No, it doesn't mean that the engine is complete garbage. It's not hot garbage. We do have an issue. Ford's doing the right thing. They're recalling it. Not like those Porsche 911 and Porsche Boxster engines from the late 90s and early to actually late 2000s. Never did a recall on it. In either one of the 911s could end up having a $25,000 rebuild. It happens often enough. But Ford's doing the right thing here, and they're going to be giving you a new engine, possibly. So let's talk about what you need to do as a buyer and owner, whether you're looking to buy a used Bronco or a used Ford Edge, Explorer, Nautilus, all the vehicles that we've mentioned. You need to know what to do here. And you need to be a smart shopper. So let's cover what needs to be done. But even if you're not a smart shopper and you don't know what dates to watch out for, then you'll want to know this, because if the engine does blow, you're going to want to be able to some dealers need some solid encouragement, because not all dealers are built the same. Many are very nice. Some are kind of nasty. So Ford V6 EcoBoost engines recalled over faulty intake valves. Brett Foote, fantastic journalist as always. Thank you for bringing us this article. If you like reading, read it after watching the episode here. But Ford's recalling some 2021 and 2022 Ford Broncos, Ford F-150, Ford Edge, Ford Explorer, Lincoln Nautilus, and Lincoln Aviators. And that's with the 2.7 liter EcoBoost engine. That's a V6 with twin turbos. A lot of stories about the Broncos 2.7 liter. You know, Scotty Kilmore kind of saying like, oh, don't buy a Bronco, the engine's horrible, that kind of thing. It happened. There's a few handfuls, a little over 50 engines that had issues. That was in regards to the valve train. This is over a faulty intake valve. Ford switched the motors on those Broncos, and they're going to potentially switch the motors on these. Now, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, they had opened an investigation on this in October 2023, and Ford has recalled some 90,000 vehicles. So what could happen? Well, in some of the 90-some thousand vehicles, the engine intake valves could break while driving, which can result in engine failure and a loss of drive power, which will be your engine's done. So the hazards, what's the danger behind this? Well, it could lead to, you could have a loss of power. Now, if you have a loss of power, it could lead to a crash, but if you feel like your vehicle's lost power, just safely put your blinker on. Don't panic. Put your blinker on, and remember, you can always coast. You have your emergency lights as well. A little emergency light on a Bronco is up here, pretty easy to find. F-150, pretty easy to find. If your Ford F-150 seems to lose power, don't panic. Don't start slamming on the gas or slamming on the brakes. You can just coast to safety with your emergency lights on. That's what the soft shoulder or shoulders, some roads have them on the left and the right side. That's what those soft shoulders are for. And make sure you pull well off the road without going down a ditch or a ravine. And Peugeot says it's called rapid unscheduled. Yeah, rapid unscheduled. I didn't catch the end of that, but hopefully that'll post up again because my brain quickly read it. I'm like, yeah, that's a disassembly. Yeah, rapid disassembly. Yes, very much so. So the components are the engine intake valves. It's not all 2.7 liters. So Scotty Kilmore and others on YouTube and journalists around the world, please leave it to the facts. Here at Johnny's Car Care and Reviews, we make sure you don't get fooled. So we're going to cover the story the correct way, the right way, with the right information. So please hit that like button, share this info, subscribe, and turn bell notifications on, because here I will do my best to never fool anyone. If I do fool the community, it's because I was fooled, and I work pretty hard to not get fooled. I'm an insider, so I'll give you the real deal right here. It's not all 2.7 liters. Don't avoid buying an Ecoboost engine. The 2.7 liter in the F-150, really fuel efficient, tons of fun in the Bronco, surprisingly less fuel efficient, at least for me, than if I had the 2.7 liter in an F-150, but I love my Bronco, and it will even affect some 3-liter V6 EcoBoosts. Now, it's for the Bronco and F-150. It's models produced between May 1st, 2021 and October 30th, 2021. So you've got about a 4 or 5 month stint there where it could be affecting the vehicles. For the 2021 Edge and Nautilus, those are crossovers. If they were built between May 10th, 2021 and October 29th, 2021, not when you bought it, not when it arrived at the dealership, but when they were built. Well, between May 10th, 2021 and October 29th, 2021, it could be affected. Not all of them could be affected. And the Explorer or Aviator models produced from June 7th, 2021 to October 31st, 2021 could be affected. Potential vehicles affected, 90,736. They're not switching every single engine like Toyota finally got around to doing for the Toyota Tundra hybrid. It's all of the 2022 and 2023 hybrid Tundras. All 102,000 of those engines, they all need to be replaced. They're all bad. Here, you've got potentially 90,736 that will need to be replaced. Likely, we're talking about hundreds, maybe a few thousand. I'd suspect, following recalls for the last a little over a decade at Ford, I suspect this is probably going to actually end up affecting anywhere from 50 to anywhere maximum 5,000. But I've got a feeling we're going to be talking about a few hundred, a handful of hundreds of vehicles. So the fix, dealers will perform an engine cycle test and replace the engine as necessary, free of charge. So make sure you don't pay for this. Ford dealers, if they're in the know they're being paid by Ford to check your engine for free if you fall within those dates. And if it doesn't pass their test, you will get a new engine. And Peugeot pointing out that pulling over on the shoulder on Black Bear Pass, I have a feeling it's probably a straight drop. So yes, there's some places where be very careful if you're going to pull over onto the shoulder. There might not be one, or there might only be 6 inches of one. So what can you do? Well, you can check out the article by Brett Foote on Ford Authority, get the phone numbers right there. You've got your FOMOCO recall number, 24S55. You got your Ford customer service number. Call your dealer. If they give you the runaround, they shouldn't. They're a good dealer. Almost all dealers are going to be very aware of all this. And if they seem a little lost, well, just call Ford customer service. But help your dealer out. Give them the recall number. They'll find it right away in their little computing system. Computers have made things a lot easier when you know how to use them. Ford's doing the right thing. They're saying, hey, we test them all. We want to make sure that you get a new engine before it blows, before you lose power. Not because it's going to catch fire and they're worried about lawsuits, but because they don't want people freaking out and getting really stressed out and slamming on the brakes and maybe causing an accident just because they're stressed out. Again, I repeat, if your vehicle loses power, no matter what brand you're driving, turn the emergency lights on, or at least the blinker. Indicate where you're going to be doing to the people in front, behind, and on the side of you, and slowly and calmly go off the side of the road. If you're doing 120 on the highway, Remember, some people do 60 on the highway, kilometers per hour. I'm not talking miles per hour, but some people go really slowly on the highway. It's not the end of the world if you slowly reduce your speed and wait for the safe and right time to pull off the road. So stay safe, folks. Driven Wild Outdoors. Dwayne, thank you so much for making it. Dwayne's back to making videos. Check his channel out, folks. So that is our story on the recall here. Pretty monumental when you got 90,000 recalled, but the recall is to check them out. It's not that all 90,500, what was it, 90,736 engines are bad. There could be 50, 10, might be 1,000. They just want to check them all out. They want to make sure people are good and safe. Now, on to the next story, because that does conclude our story here on this major recall from Ford. Ford's trouble has been lately in regards to recalls. I find they're being extremely responsible, but there have been a lot of recalls. So CEO Jim Farley said that priority number one is to get the quality back up. So if you're a Ford fan, things will be getting better and better. And all I can say is, personally, if I'm looking at buying a 2023 Bronco, mid-model production, mid-year production, or a 24 Bronco, or a new Bronco versus an ordered Bronco, let's say, versus a 21, 22 Bronco, I'd rather buy a Bronco that was built in, June 2023 or sometime in 2024 than getting a used one. All manufacturers had to adapt some very stringent rules, people missing a week of work because they have a bit of a cough. So it wasn't easy for manufacturers in general. Sorry, folks, kind of starting to almost lose my voice. I don't know how much longer we're going to go, but we'll do what we can here because we still have a good amount of material here. So how's it going in the chat? How do you find the sound? I see that believe I'm still on. Yep, still got my green lights on. Hope the sound is better. I can't re-insulate the outside wall against but I can get better mic. So I really hope that this show is coming to you in a more enjoyable format. Now, we've talked about the Ford Escape being canceled. If you're watching this live, let's talk about a new Ford Maverick model. It's pretty great. I really miss station wagons, and I'm kind of sad no one's talking about bringing back a station wagon. Now we are talking about bringing back a van. So let's just jump right in to this episode. We're at the 1 hour 37 mark. Thanks so much for sticking with us. You people are brave, courageous warriors. YouTube watching warriors here. Thank you very much. And to our actual warriors who are watching in the show, like Marine Vet and Outsider Reviews, thank you very much for your service. Excuse me. So let's get this started. New Ford Maverick model. Well, sort of. Sort of. We already got the refresh. I'm loving the refresh. A lot of people are questioning the full light design here, but I think like any new design, some people it takes us a bit of time. But as time goes by and as I see these, I'm liking it more and more. I'm thinking it's a really cool, fresh design without going all out. It's not a Santa Fe. Not Santa Fe, a Santa Cruz, which I feel like Legend of Zelda there. You got triangles all over it. It is way out of there. I watch an episode of Star Trek and you'll see less triangles, and it's on every single character's chest, other than, not the bad guys, but the people with differing opinions that they're kind of at war with. So you've got the Ford Maverick, and it's kind of coming out, other than the refreshed model, kind of coming out with a new Ford Maverick that could be very interesting because it will be a van. And it could really closely resemble the pickup. Rumors are having it that it's essentially kind of looks just like the Maverick in its current form, but with a bed topper. That's like basically closing off the box here and putting seats. And I kind of miss vans. Vans were super practical. As a kid, spent a lot of years in station wagons, and then vans. And I had a lot of fun. It's great having a lot of space If you're a family man, you'll enjoy it. If you're a working man, a lot of people use vans as their work vehicle, even in construction. But imagine if the van actually has Ford Maverick capabilities, like 1,500 pounds of payload. So far, rumors are saying that it's essentially just a bed topping and then seats. So that could really help out families, could really help out businesses, because the price on this is great. Now, will it be all electric? Because already we know that Ford likes to reuse and kind of reuse platforms to save money. And on that note, you could very much use the same powertrains as the current Maverick. So a 2.5 liter all-wheel drive hybrid, a 2.5 liter four-cylinder hybrid front-wheel drive, a 2-liter Ecoboost engine, all very possible. But I know Ford has also been talking about two new electric trucks. So do they count the van as a truck, and would it be electric? Or would they make the Maverick, offer the Maverick maybe under a different name, but essentially Maverick platform, but electric? And would the van be electric? I think a lot of us like the distance, so I'm hoping they come in as plugins. And because of political rules and laws that politicians have made, this thing is going to need to be fuel efficient. So we can probably expect at least a traditional hybrid, probably needs to be a plug-in, and maybe even as an electric option. But I think this could be great. Space-wise, if you think the last 4.5 feet that are left, 2 feet behind the second row, if you've got another 2.5 feet behind, you start up with, or not even a foot in leg space, maybe 2 feet in leg space, and you've got another row that can be pushed down for, basically the same truck bed. But then you've got a little after your third row, a little bit of space, kind of like an Explorer. Could be very, and Peugeot saying, I'm out of my Vulcan mind. I wish. So I think it'd be great to have a van. I think it would be really, really useful. I had my doubts when they cut out the Transit Connect. I know that for the last few years, getting a Transit Connect was essentially a case of order one and forget about it, because you're probably not going to get it, even though they technically stopped producing them in 2023. Getting a Transit Connect in 2021 or 2022 or 2023 was pretty much forget about it. And the Transit Connect, there's demand for it. People that had them loved them. They wanted them. I had people that were pretty upset about the van, the Transit Connect in van version, like passenger van version. Good number of people upset. They weren't great sellers, but the people that bought them were thrilled and loved them. And the price, I was selling Transit Connect vans for like $29,900 or between $29,900 and $32,000 Canadian for a passenger van out of the Transit Connect. So I think we need to bring back an affordable van. I also really think we need to bring back an affordable station wagon, but I really don't think, and I'm not seeing or hearing rumors about a station wagon coming back. But I think that would have been great. This is going to be at the Hermosillo assembly plant. Should happen, but we're still rumored. A lot of rumors coming out of the Las Vegas Ford show to dealers. And this is one of the things that are coming out of there. So plan to build next generation Transit Connect, which was slated to ride on the C2 platform. That underpins both the Bronco Sport and the Maverick. So yeah, we can probably expect some production increases, more job hiring going down at the Hermosillo assembly plant in Mexico. Please don't be offended if I most likely said that wrong. Not trying to do it, just not a Spanish speaker. So yeah, I was sad to see the Transit Connect get cut, and now they're going to be coming back with something that's going to be more exciting, because let's face it, the Transit Connect, maybe the styling worked for some, but it definitely did not work for me. But I like the practicality, and so did a lot of businesses and families. And a Maverick van, yeah, could be very, very cool. And when your family's not in it, or when you're not between job sites, maybe in the snow, maybe late at night, get that back end sliding out. Could be a lot of fun. So folks, that's our kind of new Maverick model. discussion. Thank you very much for joining me, Johnny, at Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. Please, you'll see a video pop up here and a subscribe. Catch the video that they're recommending you. It really helps grow this channel. And subscribing, sharing this information, and turning bell notifications on so you don't miss out and don't get fooled on the automotive news is really helpful to this small family business. So that's what's going on with the new Ford Maverick model. I want you to drop a comment. Would you buy a Maverick van? Do you think Maverick vans are lame? Do you think vans in general, are they lame or are they lovely? So let us know what you think. Cool or not, we want to know your opinion. Now we're going to be getting into the last episode of the night. We'll need your comments on that. Maverick van, are you in or are you out? And are you with me? Do you like the styling of station wagons? Should manufacturers bring back station wagons? Now, last episode of the night. Thank you so much, folks, for sticking it out with us. 2025 Bronco Sport. Hey, we got some talking to do. We got some automobile huge news. Huge news, but not huge changes, which is still kind of huge news. The Bronco Sport has been very successful. People have not really had complaints about this. I think it's fantastic with a 2-liter engine. I think the 1.5-liter engine so far, it's been pretty reliable. It's turning out so far to be good. Remember, it's not the same 1.5 liter that we had in the Escape back in roughly 2017. The Ford Escape originally came when they remodeled it from the squared off version from the 2000s, came back with a 1.6 liter 4-cylinder engine. I'm not a huge fan of that engine. I don't find it to be a great engine. In my opinion, it's okay. Then the 1.5 liter 4-cylinder in the Escape was good. I wouldn't say it was amazing. It doesn't have unbelievable reliability, but so far the 1.5 liter 3-cylinder, yes, it's a 3-cylinder, it's turning out to be pretty good, and the 2-liter is fantastic. And that's got a long proven history. The 2-liter has been around for over 10 years. Of course, it's not on its first edition, so you had the year one growing pains, but that was back in like 2012, 2013. Now you've got a mature engine, many generations down from the original version. It's been fixed up, changed up. All the bugs are out of the system. So you get that with the Badlands. Now, I think it's incredible that with a Ford Maverick, you get the 2-liter Ecoboost engine without having to pay extra for it. With the Bronco Sport, you do need to pay extra for it. You're going to have to dish out for a Badlands option, a Badlands trim or model on the Bronco Sport to get the 2-liter. I think it's really worth it. My parents have a 2-liter. They are more satisfied with that Bronco Sport than any of the previous vehicles they've ever owned. And they've owned a lot of Fords. They've owned some GMs. They've owned some Chevrolets. And I've owned 80 some plus vehicles. And I can tell you, I really like the 2-liter engine. It's got my Johnny's seal of approval. And I would spend extra money on the Badlands to get it. But we've got the 2025 Ford Bronco, and they haven't gotten rid of the 2-liter turbo engine, which is great because in the European market, it's kind of like, hey, you want your Audi with your 2-liter? You're going to have to spend a little more money for it. You're going to, it's considered for, BM, Audi. They treat that thing like it's a high class, high quality, pay extra engine. So, and I agree. And Ford does too, because with the Lincoln brand, the 2-liter, it's like, oh, jump up to a Corsair and you've got this wonderful 2-liter EcoBoost engine, also used in the Nautilus. So really great engine. Love the look of the new 2025 Ford Bronco. So what are the changes? Nothing major. And in a way, kind of major at the same time, because the fact that they've brought the Sasquatch package to the Bronco Sport, available on the Outer Banks and the Badlands, it is major. You've got wheels that resemble a little bit more the big Bronco, the full SUV Bronco. You can see the inside has a bit of a resemblance. It looks a lot like the Wild Track or Sasquatch. It looks a lot like a Wild Track wheel, but with the extra little ring going around. So I actually think I like it more than my Wild Track wheels. Really great wheels. Those wheels are 29 inch. So when we're talking about 29 inch, we're talking about the overall size of the tire. It's a 17 inch wheel, but the tire, 29 inch in size to help with off-road. So this is a little bit higher off the ground, not much, not even a full inch, not even a half inch, but it's just a little bit higher. Now, there are some goodies. You've got skid plates on this, like your Sasquatch package Broncos. You've got Bilstein shocks, fantastic shocks. They've made shocks for race vehicles and off-road vehicles for decades. And it was a game changer when it first came to the market. I believe back in the 70s, it was really a game changer when it came to racing vehicles. Helped people achieve some wins, a lot of wins. So you've got the steel plates front and underneath, not 100% of the underneath of the vehicle, but protecting all those sensitive, important, itty-bitty parts. Now, you do have a bit of a change here to the grille. You've got essentially the same lights, styling of the same lights, styling of the same hood, same fender styling for this refresh, but you do have on the Sasquatch, the bar. You won't get that unless you get the Outer Banks or Badlands Sasquatch package, the push bar, bull bar, whatever you want to call it. Get out of my way bar. Don't use it for that. That's illegal. But sometimes you want to. A little quick little naughty desire that crosses the mind. But that's the push bar that you're going to get with it. And they did something really great. Now I'm thinking the big Bronco for 2025 should get this on all Sasquatch packages as well. But this, I can confirm as a fact, has a rear steel bumper with attachments. So very, very useful, folks. You've got on the side of the vehicle a little anchor that can flip up, can handle 150 pounds. So power, like the year before. Tires, 235, 65 R17, Goodyear territory, all-terrain tires. So you know, the community here knows how I like my BF Goodrich. Sorry, no, not BF Goodrich. Goodyear territory all-terrain tires. I really like my BF Goodrich KO2s, but I'm hoping and I'm suspecting those are going to be 3 Peaks Snowflake rated. I'm suspecting, I'll have to confirm later, but that means if you live in an area like I do where they oblige you to have full-out winter tires, well, it passes the law, so it works for that. So not a whole lot visually changing, but a lot of goodness added. So you're going from 8.3 inches up front and 8.7 inches in the rear. You're getting the Bilstein rear shocks with position-sensitive dampening and piggyback reservoir. So your shocks aren't going to get all heated up, worn out, and just kind of become more or less useless if you're doing hours of off-roading and constantly working them. You've got new front and rear springs, and that's helping with 4/10 of an inch over the current Badlands model and 6/10 of an inch of additional suspension travel with the Outer Banks. So the Sasquatch package, you got your steel skid plates. You've got the little strap handles or accessory that can handle 150 pounds. So on the big Bronco, you've got those up front at the end of the hood. Well, here you got them on the side of the vehicle. You can see in the image that Ford Media Center has provided that, that they've got a strap to that. So interesting, you can still tow 2,200 pounds. If you want to tow more than that, get a Ford Maverick. You can also, if you don't want to go up and pay the extra money for a Sasquatch package, you can always get a Big Ben with Black Diamond off-road package for that Big Ben trim, and that's going to come in at a lot less money. Once the building price is up, we'll have to build one of these together. You've got an addition of 4 recovery points, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and the interior, really impressive here. You've got 13.2 inch touchscreen, so that's the biggest in its category. And I was off-roading with Outsider Reviews, Pat, just at the beginning of the month, and beginning of the month of August, and I can tell you, sometimes you just can't see what's in front of the vehicle and you don't want to stop and check it out or send a spotter in front. The front camera, super useful. So you even have the tire tread marks here telling you where you're going to go. 13.2 inches. It is a winner in its segment. For its segment, it's the biggest touchscreen, and I'm really impressed with this. 12-inch non-digital screen behind the steering wheel, so you'll get all your forward animation. So your Bronco Sport will pop up on the screen just like it does on the big Bronco. So this is more and more like the big Bronco, but so far, better base technology because you get Copilot 360 Assist Plus standard on every single trim. So that's great for all news, for all 2025 Ford Bronco Sports. You got to think, do you want to order one of these up or get one of the 2023 or 2024 Bronco Sports still left on some yards? Now, the Ford Copilot 360 Assist 2.0 is optional. You will have to pay more for that. But the 360 package is great. It's got lane keeping. It's got blind spot detection in the mirrors. And it's not an annoying system like some automakers where it cuts into your radio, into your song. You're in the middle of a song and someone drives in your blind spot and it cuts the song to let you know. It'll just light up. It's not invasive. It's helpful. It's useful. You've got a Sasquatch new interior for this Sasquatch model. So you get a new interior styling. That's pretty cool. I like those colors. You've got, this is the back of the vehicle, and you've got your rings here, which you can actually use for, getting people out of the mud, someone getting you out of the mud. Because remember, if you have a ball on the back of here, ideally don't let people attach to pull you out of the mud, or when you're pulling someone out of the mud, someone might just gun it. And if the ball breaks, it turns into a lethal cannonball. So please, that's advice that will not just maybe save you thousands, maybe save you thousands at the hospital, but could save someone's life. So please, please, please write this one down, put it in the dash of your vehicle, in the center console or the glove compartment box. Do not use your tow ball as a hook point for pulling people out or getting pulled out, because people tend to give it gas, and even if you got a 10,000 pound rope, when you finally put all in one shot, put an extreme amount of pressure to that ball, they do tend to snap. So use your hooks, your clamps, I should say. Now, there's actually a little bit more on the Bronco Sport that I'd like to cover if still have my video up and running here. I just want to show you here what it looks like when it's off-roading. I think good looking vehicle. Bronco Sport sales are going pretty well because it's more affordable than the big Bronco. And unfortunately, because it carries the Bronco name, I feel like the community poo-poos on this a little bit too much. I think it deserves a lot more respect, because people essentially compare it to the big Bronco and go, bah, it doesn't do the big Bronco stuff. No, but it still does all this stuff. And Peugeot is saying, think of crushing the Rubicon in your Bronco Sport Badlands on 29s. Yeah, it's not doable. The Rubicon Trail won't be doable in this. But you'll do a lot of off-roading with this. You'll have fun with it. You can go camping with it. If we can just for a moment pretend that it's not called a Bronco and compare it to the big Bronco, it's a great SUV when you consider the price versus the capability, versus what this is going to bring to you and your family, whether you want to camp, whether, heck, maybe instead of buying a full-size pickup, your company isn't at the point of spending a lot of money on a full-size pickup. Maybe you put the rear seat down, and with the rear seat down, use this as your moving stuff around for the company vehicle. And you can still go to sites, and you can still tow a lightweight aluminum trailer and put construction materials or whatever company materials you need to put in this. Less capable. Yeah, it is less capable than a base a full-size Bronco. That is a very good point, but not everyone wants to pay full-size Bronco gas prices. So I think it's, for its segment, I think it's very, very capable for its segment. When we compare it to the Bronco, yeah, it makes it seem not capable. But it's not that it's not capable, it's just less capable than the big Bronco. I think we've got a great looking vehicle here that, you know, if you like how it looks, take my word on it. The 2-liter is fantastic. The 1.5-liter is very good in this. Do consider the Bronco Sport. It's a good family SUV. And yes, and Peugeot does bring up a good point. It's $40K. So you can also get a Big Ben Bronco Sport and save a good amount of money. It's not the least expensive SUV on the market, but I think it's a really nice option to consider. I know I would consider it more if it was plug-in. I know, folks, I talk about it way too much, but I really like gas engines with the plug-in option. It'd be one of the things that could get me to switch out my current Bronco, which the family absolutely loves here. So you've got that new screens that we talked about, and we've got a pretty interesting vehicle there, the 2025 Bronco Sport. Ford Copilot 360 Assist Plus, which is standard. It comes with auto high beam headlamps, blind spot information system, with cross-traffic alert, lane keeping system, pre-collision assist with automatic emergency braking, rear view camera with rear parking sensors, all standard, adaptive cruise control with stop and go and lane centering, evasive steering assist, Ford Copilot. That's what that comes with. Now, if you pay extra, that's all standard. So I think that's fantastic safety technology. If you pay more, you can get the Copilot 360 Assist 2.0. which gives you 360-degree camera with split view, like we saw in the photos earlier. Reverse braking assist, so it won't just warn you that you're going to back into something, it'll actually brake as well, including cross traffic, and speed sign recognition. So super equipped right out the bat. The price is a little expensive. There are less expensive options in the segment. But let us know in the comments section if you think there is a better looking model in the segment. And Peugeot saying it's a great little SUV car, and the Copilot 360 plus yeah, is great. I like that you're pointing it out, that this whole plus. I think Peugeot, you're bringing up a good point in how you wrote that. I think you're kind of saying, well, Copilot 360 plus versus Copilot 360 2. Use different names. It gets complicated. Even for someone that's doing this every single day, it's complicated. So folks, that's the show. Let us know in the comments section, will you be considering a Bronco Sport? There's the model in its segment that you think is better, a little better, a lot better. Why? Love to know why. Let us learn as a community. And I know, yes, like Peugeot, I think I'm going to assume, like some of you in the community, I would rather just spend extra money and get a Bronco, because the full-size Bronco is an incredible piece of machinery. We love it here at Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. We're on our third one, and normally we kind of get tired of vehicles after 2 or 3 months. I've had it for over a year, and I'm still like, this is the vehicle I want. Sorry, Jeep, you're not visually attractive. Even if the Jeep can do things that my Bronco can't do, like get me to work. The 4xe, it could get me to work in 100% electric mode. I'd rather pay the gas and have a more comfortable, better looking vehicle, even though Jeep has better top options. But I think 2025 for the big Bronco, 2025 is going to bring us better top options. And if you've been watching the live from the beginning, from the very, very beginning of the live, if you're watching this as a mini episode, check out the first 20 minutes of the live. I even show how Ford is really responsible, even before the tops of the Bronco tops get to owners. If the dealer sees that there's something going on with the top, with the windows, they'll change the window right out, whether it needs to be resealed, whether it needs to be replaced. Ford is really good at saying, you know what, let's spend money to make sure that the product is good and as trouble-free as possible and as good as possible. So really nice that Ford isn't the type of company that when things go wrong, they just say, well, you drove it wrong. It must have been because you off-roaded it. Or like Porsche 911 customers, oh, your engine blew. They know darn well the IMS bearing is garbage, but instead they go buy yourself a new engine. You misused it. So Rushman saying the new 2-liter from Dearborn instead of Spain. catch that comment. If you're watching this and you're not watching it with live comments on, turn the live comments on. Check in on the live comments, because the community here, I'm very lucky. I've got a very knowledgeable, very, very knowledgeable and entertaining live chat community. Live chat community is often more entertaining than I am. So it's really worth to have it on, listen to what I've got to say, our perspective, but then check in on the perspective from the live community. Really fortunate here. Thank you so much. We've got the original people, the original viewers from the very beginning of this 2-hour live still here. So direct injection and port injection out of the new 2-liter. Well, I'll have to check if it's been corrected. I'm sorry. That's kind of assuming that having just direct injection is a mistake. I really do prefer having direct injection and port injection. I'd rather have direct injection than just port injection, but just port injection runs a little risk of some carbon buildup. And Rushman says he saw this on the spec sheets shown on a TFL review. That's interesting. We're going to need to, I wonder if the 2025 Maverick here that I happen to have here, because I'm a Ford guy, I'm a everything guy when it comes to automobile. I'm not up for everything here. Don't get the wrong message here. Wasn't signaling here, but we've got the 2-liter EcoBoost. And it says, let's see here, for the 2025 Ford Maverick. Yeah, 2025 Ford Maverick technical specifications. Rushman, great comment. Let's check it out. Power's gone down, 230 horsepower, and that's because of some regulations. Torque, 275, that's still great. Fuel delivery, GTDI. Gas turbo direct injection, but let's see if it's in the title. It looks like, at least for the 2025 Maverick, we're not running a 2-liter. That is also port injection, but let's see. It should be under a category we'll read the categories here. Here it's saying the construction is high strength steel frame. I don't know if we would call it a frame when it's a unibody, unless it's actually become a frame. That would be very surprising. So I encourage the community to check it out. Come back in the comments, and I'll try to come back in the comments with the answer to that. But so far, I'd have to say it's still gas turbo direct injection. Feels also port injection. You'd hope that it'd be in the title right there, but that's under fuel delivery. Usually they have a bit more of a description. Often in the past, they've had a better description under fuel delivery than that. That's all we're getting for now. So not impossible that it's also port injection. But I'd say at this point, how I'm reading the spec sheet, not looking like it's the case. We'll see with the new updated spec sheet what it reads. I really hope. I think that'd be a fantastic upgrade. I do know that the 2-liter so far had some growing pains in the first year. All these turbo engines seem to have potential. You need to, on these turbo engines, all turbo engines, you really need to be really good when it comes to using good quality oil changes regularly. Otherwise, you could have timing chain issues, cam phaser issues. So to avoid cam phaser issues or timing chain issues, my greatest advice is don't avoid turboed engines. And Ford's EcoBoost engines can be extremely reliable if you're a reliable guy or gal or whatever you identify as an individual. As a human being, I think we're safe saying that. As a human being, you need to be responsible. EcoBoost engines are fun, tons of torque on the low end, but you need to really be smart about your oil changes. Use good quality filters, use high quality oil, and that doesn't mean you have to go to synthetic oil, but use a very good mineral oil or a synthetic oil and do your oil changes regularly. And remember, if you beat on the vehicle, if you're heavy on the pedal, don't go lower than when the manufacturer says, oh, oil changes for normal usage can be every 12,000 kilometers. Well, if you're hard on the pedal Do it instead of 12,000 kilometers or roughly 8,000 miles, take 30% off of that. And if you're towing all the time, cut it in half. Do it twice as quickly. And don't use the same oil for years and years, even if you're doing very little mileage, especially if you're in an area with hot and cold periods, because the hot and cold, especially with mineral oil, you can create humidity within the engine. So you want to take care of that oil change on a regular basis. Ford enthusiast, thank you very, very much. And you do bring up a good point. You're Ford enthusiast. Thank you for writing that. With good maintenance, they can be very good engines. I agree. I've seen a lot of these engines with not just 300,000 kilometers, but even 400,000 kilometers. Your EcoBoost engine can get you well over 200,000 miles. Trying to quickly do the conversion in my mind. You can even get more than 250,000 or even 300,000 miles. But you're not ever going to get there if you're not responsible and knowledgeable when it comes to oil changes. Some people just quickly look into the owner's manual and they say, oh, here I see every 12,000 kilometers or 8,000, 9,000 miles. I'm good. No, that's for like ideal driving, I would say. Towing, cut it in half. Heavy on the pedal, but don't tow. Do it 30% sooner. So be smart. Don't cheap out when it comes to an oil filter and oil, and you've got incredible engines out of those EcoBoost engines. I did say earlier in the show that the early Ford Escape 1.6 liter engine, not my favorite, 1.5 liter engine, 4-cylinder, not my favorite. I'm liking so far the 1.3 liter. The 1.5 liter 3-cylinder engine. I'm actually liking it quite a bit, and I'm impressed by its power output. And the 2-liter, marvelous. Love it. 2.7 liter EcoBoost, I think, is one of the best engines on the market today. 5-liter V8, absolutely incredible. Best crate engine you can buy. Very, very modifiable. Loves the supercharger, loves the boost. Unlike that 2-liter Toyota engine, you run it slightly over boost, even with a whole standalone computer and all the assistance you could ever imagine, bigger intake, bigger exhaust piping, everything done for it. I even invested in a coil unplug ignition system, gave it everything, threw money at it, and it still blew on me. So I'm going to be out 12 to 15 grand. Yes, please do find the TFL review and link it in the comments section. And even better, if you know right when they talk about it, say the time market. If it happens at like the 32-minute mark, say 32-minute mark, and after the comment of the link. So thank you so much, folks. Thank you for being in the show tonight. I think I've probably missed saying goodnight to my daughter. Oh, 9:30. My daughter is definitely in bed, but I can maybe still get to say good night to Marie before she gets to bed. So thank you so much, folks, for watching. Really appreciate your devotion and dedication to the channel, making it all the way through. Until next time, I wish you all more cars and more power. Stay safe out there. And hey, more cars, more power. Take care, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great week. Stay safe out there. Ford enthusiast asking, Johnny, what do you think about the 2025 Bronco Sport Badlands with Sasquatch package? If you don't mind the money, like don't go broke buying it, but if you can handle the price, I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. I do agree with M. Peugeot. You could just get a bigger Bronco. You can get the Big Ben Bronco, and it'll be more capable. I agree with that because of height clearance. But if you're not going to be doing any rocks or any areas where height really matters all that much, you just want a vehicle with great grip. I love the fact that you've got torque vectoring on the 2025 Bronco Sasquatch packages on either the Badlands or the Outer Banks. I do like the idea of the 2-liter turbo, but I really like the locking diff of the 2025 Bronco Sport Sasquatch package, as well as the torque vectoring. So the rear diff on that is really high end. It's pretty impressive. I could always yell good night, yeah, or if she's sleeping, she's a light sleeper. If I wake her up, I'll be in big trouble. So I gotta go, folks. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, of course, more cars and more power. Don't forget to subscribe to help feed and dress those poodles and take care of this small family business. Take care, folks.